I'm Jordan and I'll be your host for today's video. Today I wanted to decide, instead of showing you a kick-ass synth or a good bass or building unique drums, I thought I'd start by putting out quality videos instead of quantity videos. These quality videos are going to be at the end of every Friday, and they will be with tech tips either in Ableton or Reason 6.5.3 or Ableton 8.3.2. Anyways, I'm going to show you, how many tricks am I going to show you? I'm going to show you 1, I'm going to show you 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 different tips that will definitely help you in your mixes. So let's get started. Okay, so for tip number 1, I'm going to show you how to drag a royalty-free sample into a browser. Actually, no, that's not what I'm going to show you. What I'm going to show you is that boosting certain lows and certain highs and mids just by a default setting of a saturator can bring a lot of interesting elements to the table. It doesn't distort the signal, it just brings a simple EQ that doesn't really mess with certain things. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. You want to drag a regular saturator and you want to turn it to signfold, and I will turn it off and turn it on as the loop continues to play. As you can tell, it brings a lot of lows, mids, and highs to the table, but it does it in such a way that it's still analog. Okay, so you can turn on soft clipping if your signal is a little bit too distorted. It still brings that nice analog warmth to it. On for tip number 2, the compressor. Alright, now that we're back in tip 2, I wanted to show you what's so the big deal with a compressor. A compressor has a lot of elements. It's actually just a squasher if you take it down from how it's constructed. There's a lot of elements with the compressor. The ones you really should actually pay attention to are the attack, the release, and the threshold, as well as some of the outputs and the ratio and some knee. But that's basically all there is to really know. I know all the ins and outs of a compressor because I work with one every single day, whether it's in Reason, in a regular studio, or just messing about with my iPod. I mess with the compressor all the time, and a compressor is a volume limiter as well as a bringer. So I will show you. So one of the big tips with a compressor are the threshold. And if you have a listen to, I'm going to bring down the output a bit. If you have a listen, you'll understand what a compressor does to the signal. In the beginning, it started to get a lot louder, and as you can see, the gain reduction downed the reduction of the sound that was being put out at the time, limited by the threshold. This is a big tip. You can have a side chain on top of your drums from a host, from a MIDI track, or from an audio track that just has a simple kick. And I will show you what's so important about sidechaining when you have another compressor on top of that. As you can tell, it's hitting with every kick. It's a cool drum beat, but that's not what we're here for. when you add a compressor on top of a sidechain compressor, you can start to see the compressed level, and you can bring out a lot more instead of just EQing and messing that. Okay, now that we've established that, it's a nice cool trick even though it's very subtle, and it's good for your tracks. Okay, on to tip 3. Alright, for tip 3, I'm going to show you how to stretch and extend the stretched techniques. Here we have, I'm just going to duplicate this, we have a simple ride cymbal. It pans from right to left. And in the cymbal, I want to, instead of turning it to beats, I want to turn it to texture. Take the grain size all the way down in the flux, maybe about 10 or so. Yeah, about 10. Now if we have a listen, still sounds the same until we start messing and drawing points. Sounds a lot more granulated and sounds a little bit funky, even if we double time it too. And what's cool about this is that you can loop these sections and stretch them over a period of time. Or reverse them. There's a whole bunch of really cool tips, but the cool tips that I find are when you reverse, putting on texture, and of course have a volume control on an unlinked channel, so that way you can have this really high pitch frequency and start to skip. It sounds more like a hi-hat than a ride. Now, this is pretty cool because you can start messing about with the ping pong delay and a compressor. To get a really cool rhythmic pattern and then start resampling your own loops and things like that. On to tip number 4. Okay, so for tip number 4, I'm going to show you a cool way to get very extreme delays or cool things like that. Actually, it's how to use your Apple plugins. Now, since I work on a Mac, I'm not sure how people are going to translate this to PC, but there's a lot of free effects out there for PC, and there's not very many for ones for Apple. There's like expensive ones, but actually I'm going to show you how to use your Apple plugins and your like default piano to mess about with. And oh, I totally forgot. Yeah. To attach my MIDI keyboard. Anyways, it comes with a cool instrument. It's just a basic piano. Then you can mess with ambient effects to get different pianos. But I don't know why, but I never, ever see any producer mess with the Apple plugins. Now, I've found a particular liking to the Apple plugins because they grant you a lot of different versatility like distortion, graphic EQs, high pass and low pass filters, and a matrix reverb, and a multiband compressor. So it's basically a different set of effects just from the Ableton stuff, but like an older version. A really cool way to get something unique is to actually use the delays and mess about with them. As you can see, I have a preset already open with the Apple delay, the AU delay. And if you have a listen to this kick drum, you can get, I'm going to play it just dry, that has no effects. And it's just a simple kick drum. However, when I turn on the effect, you'll start to notice the difference. And I found it really hard to save plugins. And whenever I would save this plugin, it would give me an error. I'm just going to delete that. It would give me an error like can't find this folder or whatever. So I went to the directory that it told me to go to, the same folder. I just opened a new folder and called it Apple plugins, and it worked. So now I can save any preset I want to, like the anti-modular reverb. You can get a lot of cool sounds just from the basic Apple plugins. You can get sometimes plugins that will sound like professional plugins, but they actually come from Apple. Anyways, on to the last tip, tip number 5. So for our final tip of the day, I have a vinyl distortion unit out with a custom patch from one of my dubstep albums. That's going to be probably towards the end of the year. I don't plan on releasing that anytime soon, only because I have yet to finish the track. But they're all really nice samples. Just giving you a demo of all the samples I collect. Anyways, I just like to show off sometimes of what I'm collecting or why I'm a sound designer in the first place. Anyways, one of the key cool features is the vinyl distortion. And the vinyl distortion adds a lot of old, nasty warmth to your track. So have a listen. You can only get so far until you start to turn up the frequency and the Q on the tracing mode. And to switch it from stereo to mono, or mono, however you pronounce it, will give you a wider stereo field. And switching it from hard to soft, from soft to hard, really doesn't add all that clearness. It adds a lot more clearness to the mix instead of the distortion. And the distortion or the distortion clear on the hard or soft can be set at any parameter. Anyways, depending on what mix you want. So, thank you for joining me on my tech tips for Friday. And I believe either later today, if I have time, or Monday, I will show you how to develop another cool kick-ass synth because I have an unlimited library and a not limited amount of imagination. So I'll catch you guys Monday then, or Sunday, whichever one you guys want me to do. Like I said before, comments, liking, even just inboxing me on what you guys want to focus on. I believe that one of you guys said that you wanted a Reese bass. Now, from what I understand, a Reese bass is just a messed up saw chord. It's just a detuned saw chord, and I'll show you how to do that probably later today or Sunday because it's super easy to do. Anyways, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys Sunday or Monday.